Hello, everybody. Appreciate your patience as we navigate the little stumbling blocks that were thrown our way this morning. Uh, First of all, our first speaker today, everybody knows Aleyda Solis, I assume broadcasting from Barcelona. And Elena's been around a while, and she's written an awful lot of the steps that we all follow in our day-to-day business. She began as a web developer many years ago, worked her way into SEO and social media, then into analytics, SEM. She's been a Moz associate for about 9 years. She founded Arranti nearly 8 years ago, and more recently, Remoters.net, where she just shares a wealth of information for digital nomads and remote workers in terms of networking and opportunities. So when it comes to international SEO, Aleyda is my go-to with any sorts of questions. So uh, I hope that everybody out there is ready to absorb some of her wisdom. Aleyda, welcome. Thank you for your patience this morning. We're really looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you both very much for having me. It is amazing to be able to share with all of you today, and I'm very looking forward also to particularly go through some of the insights that I have prepared. These are from e-commerce website, online stores, which have even boomed even more since last year because of the pandemic. So I have had also a lot of more, let's say, scenario situations with clients, and which I have had to manage, identify opportunities, and also help them growth in this other type of scenarios, right? So if you want, let's get this party started, because I was also informed that I only have 40 minutes or so, and I have a lot of resources to go through, right? So 7 e-commerce SEO mistakes and how to solve them, right? Like, to start, let's confirm what we all know, but just in case, we have the data here. I went through data from some of the most important online stores with SEMrush traffic analytics, just to verify, even if you have a huge brand, right? Like, what is the share of your traffic that will come from organic search? And even big brands as the ones that you're seeing on screen, like the second biggest traffic driver is organic search, right after direct, because of course this websites have huge brands. And even like this, the second most prominent ones is organic search. Then, on the other hand, we have also big players like Shopify that in the last year or so, I don't know how many like additional features they have started to support in order to make our optimization work easy too, which is exciting. So since, like, on one hand, they are providing much better support for international targeting. On the other hand, we're now able also to add it robots.txt, which is amazing, right? And however, despite this, there are also still today many characteristics that make online stores, e-commerce websites, particularly challenging to optimize for search, like from a high number of pages due to products volume, complex categorization, heterogeneous sort of product lines and categories, constant URLs changing status due to a very dynamic inventory, same products also information than other websites, unfortunately, because sometimes, like, we tend to sell the exact same products that many other websites on the web, and reuse the same information, right? And these sort of, let's say, characteristics end up becoming constraints and end up also generating fundamental SEO issues, crawl budget problems, content cannibalization issues, internal linking challenges, poor content pages that won't rank, unfortunately. So yes, online stores, e-commerce websites are offer amazing opportunity from an organic search potential. But yes, on the other hand, we also have, like, all of this challenges that are great to refine and grow and scale those SEO, let's say, sort of constraints that we end up having, and sort of like improve our own skills as SEOs at the end of the day, right? So I want to go through those 7 very common SEO errors, or issues, or challenges that I tend to see, and share a few ways to fix them in a hopefully in a way that is also very doable independently of the platform that you're using, right? So the first one, no index subcategories or facet pages with traffic potential. And unfortunately, sometimes not only no index subcategories and facets, but also unlinked subcategories or facet pages with traffic potential, right? So this is the thing. Many e-commerce websites won't rank for popular terms, even despite these popular terms belong or are connected with subcategories or third level filters or facets, because they will no index subcategories or facets by default, right? Like many websites and many SEOs, when they start also with online stores, what they will say is like, look, I will cover my back, and to avoid content duplication, cannibalization issues, team content issues, I will just no index everything from the second level subcategory and every filter, and that's it. And yes, at the start, that might allow you to, let's say, minimize these sort of issues, but also you can be leaving out a lot of potential, a lot of money on the table, as you can see in this example, right? Like for rose gold wedding rings, take a look at the traffic potential here, and take a look at how a very important online rings and jewelry store end up like canonicalizing, right? Like these sort of URLs to the parent category, right? And as you can see, again, some sites canonicalize all of the subcategories or facets to their main ones, like in this other example. And that's a pity, because many of these pages are targeting queries that have non-trivial traffic potential. And it's not only that these pages are also no index, but sometimes they are completely blocked from being crawled, as in this other example here, right? So it's also, again, a pity, because a lot of people end up also sharing these pages. When people share information, if you think about it, from online stores, and if you go and take a look at the link profile of many of your online store clients, you will see that after the homepage and guides and resources, these are not category pages that people tend to share, but products, cool products, attractive products that they love, that they had used, that they want to give to the people or share to the people, that they end up sharing. So yeah, some of this are also very specific filter pages or subcategories or subgroups of very specific type of products too. So yes, many of these pages might end up like being attracting like non-trivial backlink opportunity, link popularity too. So yes, unfortunately, we also see these sort of situations and scenarios. Also, a lot of SEOs do this to obfuscate internal links going to these sort of like second level subcategories or filter pages, because they are afraid to waste their quote budget going through these pages that in any case are no index, right? So yes, as a consequence, they will end up like, yeah, let's block them and obfuscate these links, and that's it, right? And the problem with all of these configurations is that when they are applied without criteria and following the rule of thumbs without actually validating the potential, right? Like they might be leaving out a lot of money on the table. As I am showing here, these are the type of pages that end up ranking at the consideration stage of the customer journey. And many of commercially driven queries will connect with this sort of pages, right? And a lot of people will say, okay, these are very long tail type of queries with colors, with type of products, etc. But even take a look, wireless noise canceling headphones have more than 8,000 searches per month, or Bose noise canceling headphones, 40,000 searches per month. And many websites out there, unfortunately, end up no indexing these sort of pages, right? And unfortunately, the problem is that this will also end up not only having bad organic search rankings consequences, but also a bad user experience, a bad user search experience. So if your subcategories, facets can rank, your product pages will do it instead, but worse, because of course it's less content. These are URLs that are changing all the time because of very high dynamic sort of inventory, and they will end up cannibalizing each other, as with this example, right? For the perfect query that should be rankable by by a very particular subcategory or facets. And then on the other hand, if this doesn't happen, then it will be like the main category page that will end up ranking, rather than the relevant subcategory. And unfortunately, the main categories, yes, they will end up ranking because they tend to be a little bit more powerful because of their link popularity, but they will also rank in not such a good position because they are not as relevant in some cases, and their conversions will tend to be poorer too, because of course they usually will end up clicking there, but they will end up arriving into a page where the actual color or the actual product hasn't been yet selected, that they need to go through and additionally perform all of this filtering by themselves, right? So how you can fix this, how you can configure this in a way that is straightforward, and you can actually like set these rules that you should apply into your web platform, your online store platform, and follow whenever there's a new facet, a new subcategory. And this is a validation that you will need to do at the start, yes, but after you go through it, it will be very straightforward to follow later on. And it's about supply and demand, right? Like if there's on one hand enough demand, search demand for that type of products that are offered through the subcategory or facet, and if it has enough search volume potential to compensate the optimization work on one hand. And then on the other hand, you have enough supply. If you have enough products, let's set the minimum, more than 3 products to provide a good experience to users that will land into that page, to make it worthy to go through that page, because they will be able to find those particular products with those particular characteristics there to satisfy their need. If the answer to these 2 questions are yes, then you should definitely index, because this can provide you non-trivial search opportunity, traffic opportunity, that will end up compensating the optimization work to sell those particular subgroup of products on your website, right? So it's fundamental, as you can see, to develop a keyword research to identify this related opportunity for each of your subcategories or facets, as well as the number of unique products offered per subcategory or facet, to see if there's enough products offering that will compensate the effort, right? And if these are true, then you should definitely index these pages to attract this traffic. And of course, you should configure everything else accordingly, right? Like these pages should be internally linked correctly through their canonical URLs. You should allow the Googlebot to crawl these pages. This shouldn't be blocked, etc., right? So that is one of those, let's say, opportunities that a lot of online stores are living out. And then let's say more than, and it's not necessarily like an opportunity, but more of an issue to tackle on the other hand, is this other one. Still today, many of the internal search results of online stores are indexed and end up cannibalizing. And of course, they won't rank as well. And it's a problem that you need to fix. Like this, right? Like many e-commerce websites still in their internal search results pages to attract ranking and traffic. And yes, they allow Google to crawl all of these pages, of course, without any constraint too. And the consequence is that many of these pages also end up ranking for non-relevant queries, and sometimes they can be not necessarily even nice queries to rank for, and can generate even spam, or you can even like be hacked through this sort of pages too. And they will generate content duplication with categories, subcategories, facets are indexable, and they're actually meant to rank for these same sort of queries, right? As you can see here. Again, the problem will be this one. Google won't know which one to rank, and they might end up ranking the less, let's say, ideal to rank internal search result page that is not correctly linked internally, that can end up being shared and then attract a lot of backlinks because it has been referred, shared by other 2 parties, but that is not the one that is actually meant to be ranked, and unfortunately not the right subcategory or category page will rank because of this, and will end up generating content cannibalization issues, right? Ranking in word positions, then category and subcategory facets will be seen as in this scenario here. So yes, you will end up ranking sometimes, but the ranking wouldn't be as good as if you were ranking with the proper category or subcategory sometimes, because many of these internal search result pages, they don't have the metadata correctly optimized. They don't have enough content or description or feature all the content. The content is not as comprehensive, right? Internal links are not all pointing to them, of course. So to avoid this issue, many websites decide to canonicalize from their internal search result pages to the alternate category, subcategory facets are indexable for these same sort of topics. And it ends up working well in many cases. But let's remember that canonical tags are, at the end of the day, a signal. These are not directive, right? And if many of the backlinks still point to the internal search result page, sometimes the internal search result page still rank despite being canonicalized to the other category. If the category is not seen as having unique, something different, or even more powerful or more authoritative than the internal search result page, right? So because of this, the best way that I have seen that this can be completely avoided is to 201 redirect internal search results to the relevant categories, subcategories, facets, counterparts, as Lowe's here is doing, to refer the user directly looking for any query that is actually relevant of a real product or type of product that they are offering to the right page that they should be not only buying at, but referring to. And then instead of directly indexing internal search result pages, you can monitor which are these pages are being searched for, which queries they are being shared, what are the topics, right? And set rules to be notified, to be alerted whenever there are more searches than X number for certain type of topics, to go and create and index the proper category or subcategory or facet page that is meant to run for this sort of products, right? Then we have also this other scenario that I see still happening from time to time. And coincidentally, I saw Glenn Gage share a very interesting use case that I will be linking from the presentation here. So it's a very still like recurrent issue that many online stores end up having. And you can see some of these websites also even negatively impacted after certain updates because of the issues that discuss, right? Categories and subcategories pages with little unique commercial content to rank. So this is the thing, right? As we saw before, categories, subcategories, facets connect with some of the most important searches from a popularity, a conversion perspective, right? However, also many of these sort of pages, listings, sometimes they only feature links to products without any descriptive text, which makes them hard to rank. And I think that most of us are very aware of this. So the problem is that a common approach to fix this issue is to add descriptive text at the end, at the bottom of the listing, to improve the relevance without hurting the conversion. Because here the constraint that we have, especially with product owners or decision makers or even designers sometimes, like, oh my God, don't add more information embedded like within the product information, because they are too afraid that conversion will drop because of this, right? That the user won't be attracted as much to click on the product. The problem is that many times the content, and I understand this, right? Many times the content that is featured is not even commercially driven content. It's the nature of the content is disconnected from the actual purpose of the page. And of course, it's because of this that there are these concerns, and they want to, yes, add the content at the bottom where nobody will see it. So this is not actually useful content for the user. And yes, this is something that also John Mueller, as you can see here in this quote, has also identified in the past. They don't have any content on one hand, only links. That is one problem. And then the other problem is like the other extreme is that people are featuring content, but that content that is at the bottom, 95% is unnecessary, and it doesn't make Google works any easier to understand the actual intent and what the page is about, right? And it's because of this. This is an actual example of a content that is actually featured at bottom of a category listing. It's pretty much a mini guide, right? So the intent, the nature of this content is pretty much like an article that could be featured in the blog of this website, not necessarily in what you expect to see in a category listing. Is not necessarily that useful at that stage of the customer journey, because it won't help the user to clarify their doubts that they're having at that point. So it can be even confusing for Google to understand that page, the nature, the intent, as John mentioned here. The algorithms sometimes will get confused, is when they have a list of products on the top and essentially a giant article on the bottom, like for which queries they should be ranked, right? So it's critical to, yes, feature content, but not any content, right? Like it's important to do, again, an analysis of the queries, a keyword research, audience research, to identify which are the questions that are actually made at this phase of the customer journey, the purchasing journey, to clarify customer doubts that are actually worthy and relevant to feature in those sort of pages, right? Like the beauty of this is that we have these additional filters in most of keyword tools like SEMrush, for example, but also in content tools like Phrase. I love that they have this outlining generator here, but most than to generate outlines. I use it as a keyword complementary keyword research tool, to be able to identify queries, questions that are very popular along the search volume, with different sort of modifiers, commercial, informational, for questions that I can see and I can gather not only from Google itself, but also from third-party tools like Reddit or Quora. So these are great to understand what are the concerns of the customer with this type of products at that stage of the purchasing journey, right? So confirming users that the products that they are seeing are the best for their scenario. For example, clarify any doubts around the use and characteristic of those particular products, inform why they are in the best place to buy these products for sure. So this is the type of content that is reasonable and understandable and useful to have in these sort of pages. And here's a perfect example of one of those category pages that I will say that they are content rich, they are comprehensive, they are useful. They are not just a list of links and that's it, but they are featuring information and insights and content that are actually attractive, meaningful, for me as a user, as a potential customer, to have here whenever I want to buy an adjustable standing desk, right? So this is a great example of this attractive, rich, relevant information that we can feature in categories, right? Integrating them also within the design of the listing. This is also something that we need to align and work well with designers, right? Because again, this is useful content, you don't want to leave it at the bottom. You want to integrate it well in a way that makes sense, that support the sales, rather than take attention away from the user to convert, right? As also in this other example, Turo is doing a very, like, they embed the information, they integrate the information in such an attractive way within the design along the product offerings, which in this case are cars, right? And as I mentioned before, actually a few days ago, Glenn published these amazing case studies in which he showed how he improved the rankings of some listing pages, category pages, by cutting the fluff from them. It's not about just eliminating content and that's it, but actually leaving the content that makes sense to be left, while making sure that the content that is left actually provides a good user experience, right? Then the other scenario or scenario with a few challenges and issues is product pages with poor unique descriptive content. I'm afraid that we have all seen this in the past. However, this is also something very important, because I have also seen the typical question from clients when we end up running into this issue or challenge, right? It's like, okay, Aleyda, if product pages end up generating all of this content duplication, and what do we do? It's not easy just to no index these pages and that's it. And it's like, oh my god, how much of long tail queries, how many long tail queries these products end up targeting and ranking for, and can end up ranking for. And if you go and take a look at big online stores, again, traffic profile, and see which are the directories, the path, the categories that end up attracting more rankings and traffic, and you will see that those that differentiate their product pages, these are huge. take a look at eBay here. The item subdirectory is huge. It's actually the first one here, above the category, etc. Because you can offer so many products. So if there's a long tail of queries there, some of them very popular, some of them are not so much, but yes, a long tail of them. So at the end of the day, it really compensates to make a good work with product pages. And also, let's remember that users that end up arriving here are at the end of the customer journey. Pretty much, they are pretty much convinced in most cases that they want to buy the product. So these are very worthy pages to rank with, because it will be very transactional type of query to rank for, and the conversion will be very high, right? So again, as I mentioned before, users will also tend to share product pages much more than other type of URLs on the website, because again, people tend to share the products that they like. So it's also important to leverage and make a good work indexing and cross-linking and internal linking well from this type of pages to pass the value between them. And the issue that we tend to see, and I'm sure that you have seen this problem too, is that many of these URLs, because they feature products that are very similar with one with another, they will end up being able they won't be able to all be indexed, and Google will end up leaving out some of them, a share of them, because they are going to be seen as duplicates, I'm afraid, as you are seeing on screen. So this is the type of issue that you want to avoid. How do we avoid it? We avoid it by featuring unique descriptions with complementary products, Q&A, similar products, comparison with other type of products that are very similar, reviews of users that are real too and are unique and are for that particular product. And we know this, but we also know that it's challenging, that this requires a lot of really good interaction and work with customers, asking for review, incentivizing them to leave reviews that are not fake, validating a good automation flow also through the customer journey too. It's not only purely SEO, right? However, competing against players like, let's say, Amazon or eBay or these huge retailers, they will end up having this sort of content, right? So we need to be able to be there and have like good enough information that is competitive, that is different, that is unique, that is attractive to be able to compete with them, right? So we should start by differentiating similar products that are actually worthy to differentiate. We are going to see this in a bit, because the product is a little bit different, and they target different search intent and all the time. Oh my God, I don't have like the workforce, right, to generate unique descriptions from scratch. But you can use these tools pretty much to as an input to support copywriters to generate description faster, right? And if you have many identical, very similar products with a very short lifespan, like in this particular case, they are not worthy to differentiate. They are not worthy to feature in independent URLs, because they will target the same search, the same searches, and the search volume will be the same too. And it's only a minor characteristics that is different between them. Then the best way to handle this is what Grail does, right? They have this, let's say, static product pages, or that is a sort of aggregator of all of the products that comply with the same characteristics, same brand, same color. The sizes might change a little bit, but they are from the same model, and they will aggregate them in a single page there, where users will be able to buy from different vendors, different sellers, right? And you can click and connect to buy or to do a particular bid in their case, because they are a marketplace, for each one of them independently, right? But like this, they will avoid indexing all of this sort of URLs, which their lifespan is also very, very short, and doesn't make any sense to independently indexing them, because they will literally target the same search volume, right? Then on the other hand, we also have product pages with backlinks and traffic that generate errors, are inconsistent, or are inconsistent to redirected, right? That is the other page. The other is the other painful moment, right? Like we did do a good work with the content. We leverage out and tools to and the community and the power of the community and automation within the marketing journey to attract all of this reviews, opinions. We did a good work on the differentiation of the different type of products that were worthy to individually index or not. But then when the product, well, was out of stock, went out of stock, this happened, right? Some products URLs tend to have a very short lifespan and end up generating errors like this one. And unfortunately, again, many of them could have been like attracting non-trivial backlinks, and is bad not only from an SEO standpoint to waste those that internal link opportunity, but also to give a bad user experience, because if they got a lot of backlinks, it's very likely that they will be also referring traffic, right? And again, they can end up affecting at so many different levels, the crawl health of the websites, because of like this examples is a real pity that many of these URLs, a single page in some cases, will end up attracting so much traffic, and that can drop like this after showing a 404 HTTP status, right? And not only 404, sometimes they are even redirected, but they are redirecting to pages with issues. They are redirecting with 302 redirects rather than 201 redirects. So this is why it is so important to establish rules, clear rules to follow, to make sure that, yes, these pages are there whenever the user needs, and whenever there is no need of them anymore, because there are no products being offered there anymore, they are set in a way that actually makes sense or is consistent to make the most out of them, not only from an SEO perspective, but also for like the best search experience for the user, right? So before creating any new URL, establish validation within the system to verify if the product existed in the past, and if so, use the old URL. When doing a product pre-launch, also use the same URL that the product page will have when being sold. I have seen so many cases, even of very famous websites, when they had this pre-launch of this new product, attractive product, and then after the product is actually launched, the URL is completely different. They don't refer from the old URL. Sometimes the old URL of the pre-launch it shows just an error HTTP status without even being redirected. So I will say, as much as possible, use the URL that will be the final one in which you will actually sell the product to do the pre-launch, right? And remember to list the products in the relevant indexable categories. So category facets, again, many of these pages that are, especially the ones that are pre-launch, they are not linked from anywhere, only from social media, etc., but not from the navigation, not from within the website. Sometimes they are being linked and actually like the final URLs, but not with the canonical URLs, but canonicalized URLs, because still somehow today some websites still use UTM tags to tag the URLs internally for tracking purposes. But yes, as much as possible, we should avoid doing this, because there are other much better ways to do it in any case, from within analytics too. And what is also important is to reflect this with the structured data. We should, of course, leverage structured data to specify the information of the product, to improve the SERP snippet in search results too. And we should create and send product feeds through the merchant center to maximize this product visibility, which can be also highly automated now with Woocommerce and Shopify, which is great. What is important is we need to make sure that the correct status is shown at every single time, right? So when a product is out of stock, eliminate its inclusion in the listings, XML sitemaps and feeds, and it should show that it is out of stock. If it is something temporary, the product page should keep as indexable, should be kept as indexable, should be indexable, as you can see here, with a 200K HTTP status. And then what you should say is like, look, this product is not on stock at the moment, but you can enter your email here to be alerted when it comes back on stock. And these are recommended similar products that you can buy instead too, so you can refer users to similar items. And of course, whenever the product is back on stock, you will be alerted. So that is always useful to get those potential customers within the marketing workflow on one hand. And the product structure data and feeds should be updated and show that they are out of stock too. This is also very important in case this page was ranking. On the other hand, if it is something permanent, if it's a permanent out of stock and the product has a new version, then you should want to redirect towards it directly and update the internal links, XML sitemaps, product feeds accordingly. And if there isn't a new product version, but the page has backlinks, traffic, rankings, then you should definitely 301 redirect to the parent category, the very relevant parent category, while notifying and explaining to the user why it's being redirected. Look, you're being taken here because the product that you were looking doesn't exist anymore, but here are similar products that you can take a look at, right? But don't do this. Don't bring the user to a generic category page that is not relevant at all, because it won't keep the rankings anyway if it is not relevant at all. And of course, the experience of the user will be bad. And don't do this with 202 redirects also, because the all product page popularity won't be as fast as directly as with permanent redirects too. And what you definitely want to avoid is to show 404 HTTP errors for any out of stock products with backlinks, because you'll lose value. It's a bad experience also for users. On the other hand, you should use, and the scenario where it's actually relevant to use 404s or 410s HTTP status in pages that are out of stock, but permanently, forever. And these are pages that never had any traffic, any rankings, nor backlinks at all, right? And you should personalize these errors pages to say, oh, the page is not, the product is not here anymore. These are all the product pages, to make it useful, right? And useful by any user that can somehow end up landing there, right? But it shouldn't, because again, it shouldn't have any traffic, any rankings, any backlinks. If they do have traffic, ranking, backlinks, then you should redirect to the parent category page. And of course, all internal links, search pages, XML sitemap feeds should eliminate these unavailable product URLs, of course. Establish rules in your store platform for each of these scenarios. And I have created this workflow that you can take a look at here to facilitate this and to have a cheat sheet to refer to your developers too. And of course, it's always important to set recurrent automated crawls to identify still existing issues and to solve them too, in case they still exist. Sometimes there are scenarios, minor scenarios that are not, they haven't fallen into these bigger ones that you want to go and tackle. And what I highly recommend to be, besides the ongoing pre-scheduled crawls that you can set with your favorite crawler, you should use also real-time monitoring like Little Water and Content King. They do a great job for those most important pages, top product pages, categories, subcategories, facets, of course, but also top product pages, the ones that are really generating more from a conversion standpoint, not only traffic, of course, to monitor and see where, if they are changing their status, their configuration, anything meaningful, to pay a closer look and set alerts and certain criteria and conditions for these pages for you to get those alerts, right? So you're not getting alerts whenever one of this only, like, I don't know, change their stock information or the number of products being featured or feature a new review, right? But you set like very specific criteria when you want to send those alerts to warn not only you but also any product team member, marketing team member that is helping you to optimize these pages too. And the last but not least is not establishing a full web structure allowing to connect through all of the customer journey. This like also, unfortunately, I'm afraid a very common issue that I see in online store e-commerce website is undermining the capacity of informational content to help to support the whole growth at the end of the day, right? Because I don't understand how someone can think that even if they rank very, very well with their product pages, or even subcategory pages or category pages, so someone will think to buy anything from them if they don't know anything about them. Unfortunately, if they see them even ranking in the first position, but they see another player that they know the brand much more about that they see as an authority in their field, they will tend to go to the second one. So it's important to establish trust and authority in your field, and this trust and authority will be created by connecting with users also at the very top of the funnel sort of stage in the customer journey, right? With all the type of pages that are not only tied to commercial intent necessarily, right at the end of the journey, right? You need to be useful. You need to be seen as a website that offers reliable information about the products that they sell, right? So you can do this with brand hubs, model comparison, gift cards, guides, support sections or areas, etc., etc., right? So it is important that you, again, when you do your keyword research, audience research, competition, and benchmarks, you identify the opportunities and connect each type of queries with their actual intent and type of page that you should target these queries with, right? From guides and articles, brand pages, comparison pages, etc. And to help with all of this, I actually created this sort of cheat sheet for all of the different type of queries and keywords that you will tend to find on e-commerce website. And also I did this with it was with SaaS websites too, but you also have for with e-commerce homepage, product pages, subcategory, facet filters, deals pages, guides, advice, seasonal type of promotional pages, support pages, etc. So you will have all of the very usual, typical type of pages that you need to create to connect with the different query permutations and different type of behaviors that the user will have through the customer journeys. Also with examples of real websites, very well known in commerce also. So you can go and take a look at how they are doing it with this type of pages that they have to connect with this type of queries too. So very straightforward examples to follow and to show to your clients and clients developers to try to, let's say, replicate, right? And too much work, yes, I'm afraid that nothing that is worthy is not difficult. And it is a lot of work, but this is the type of work that will allow you to fix these non-trivial issues in online stores. And this is the type of work that will allow you to achieve these sort of results that at the end of the day is what matters and will compensate all of the effort that you have done for your online store clients, right? So thank you very much. And I hope that all of these insights can help you to develop even much more cost efficient SEO processes with e-commerce websites from now on.
Thanks, Aleyda. That's some very interesting stuff. When I'm not chasing all these little bugs around in the background, I'm looking forward to going through your presentation, watching it again. I am going to drop a couple of comments in here for our viewers. Everybody that bought a ticket will have access for view on demand after the fact. We'll be promulgating those links, hopefully more efficiently than this morning kicked off. But so everybody will have the ability to go back for some period of time and see these presentations. Do we have some questions, Steve?
Yes, 100%. And no problem, Don. No more questions at the moment. I will be sharing my deck too. So whenever, if any of the people in the audience have questions later on, they can also always ask me over Twitter, where I am always very active. And yeah, just let me know whatever doubt they have, right, to clarify. I'll be more than happy to do so.
We really appreciate your participation today, Aleyda. I always love hearing your presentations anyway, because I've learned a lot listening to you over the years. And again, just a little kudos. Yourremoters.net. Anybody out there who works for themselves, if you haven't already got embedded over there, you need to check it out, because it is just a wealth of information and networking opportunities for any of the digital nomads out there. So kudos to you for that. That's a heck of a give to the entire industry. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Doc.
Being here.
You're very kind, and all the best with the event. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, thank you for lending your name to it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Jim Boykin is, first of all, saying great advice. And what do you recommend for homepage content?
That is a great question. So the homepage content, actually, like, what should the one that should help you to connect with this type of queries, questions, searches that the user will do in general about your online store, right? And to say, hello, I am here, and I am an authoritative store and website, and you can definitely trust me, right? So potentially those questions about your brand, to show that you are an actually legit website, showing like information about how it works in general, what are the conditions of the website, of the store in general, what people can expect, fees. So a little bit of an FAQ regarding the overall website, how it works, where does it deliver, conditions, etc., will be great. Like a very quick intro. Again, it doesn't need to be long to be comprehensive. What it is important is that really connects with the type of questions that potential customers will be asking at that stage of the journey. And on the homepage will be these sort of questions, right? When they land in the first page on your site, and if in case they don't know you, right? Like, what you should be telling them to first to establish trust and authority for them to be able to be open to buy from you.